Hello.
Ooh, another good one. Oh, man. Here we go. I'm going to wait just a second. Let people trickle on in here while I get all situated. Open up my drink. It's another day of running plumb up until the stream starts. Okay.
I feel like we've got this stream down tight, though.
Yeah, we're good at going by the seam of our pants.
This one feels good.
Yep. All right, we probably need to move your mic just a little closer.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Whew. Gotta take a deep breath. Start the podcast. What's up, everybody? Curtis here, and welcome back to Player Tuesday. This is a live stream, soon-to-be podcast in which we talk about whatever in the heck we feel like talking about. It's more or less just an excuse for us to hang out and have a fun conversation with you guys. So, as I said, I'm Curtis.
And I'm John.
And we have some stories for you today. So, it was actually a pretty good week as far as news is concerned. We had a pretty full docket. We had to trim some stuff back. So, first up on the list is Sega announces the Genesis Classic. So, going on with the whole popular thing of, releasing the mini classic consoles. Nintendo's been killing it. PlayStation tried, but they died terribly. And, Sega is up to bat, and they have a pretty good lineup with it. Of course, you got your Sonic. Did you say Altered Beast was on it?
Altered Beast is on it.
I think Shining Force, is that the name of it?
That sounds
Toe Jam and Earl.
Castlevania Bloodlines, I think. Comic Zone.
Yeah, pretty good stuff. Pretty excited. Hopefully they get the right implementation that looks good on our 60 hertz TVs here in the States. And yeah. And speaking of companies getting things right, Valve has not been very popular in the past about it. But there was a big leak about Valve releasing a VR headset. And it's called the Index. It looks pretty interesting. It's supposed to have a kind of pass-through camera. So that way, before your game, you can see. Spec-wise, it doesn't look killer from what I saw. Not a whole lot of information was leaked, but it did announce that it's looking like May 1st. The pre-orders were supposed to have been going, and then I saw a release date of early June, which I'll believe it when I see it. Can't really go off of that. But yeah, also
Looks like we got a little bit of Avengers Endgame news here.
more
for those of you that care about that. Obviously, some do, because I guess they had a record-breaking pre-sale week here. It's so much so that sites actually crashed. I think AMC just straight up crashed. Fandango was able to organize it a little better. They had a waiting queue, so you would go on to pre-order the ticket, and they'd put you in a virtual line, essentially.
A virtual line. Whew, man, that's awesome.
Lovely. I'm so glad to see that that's a thing in our future.
Right? That's why you buy them online, so you don't have to wait in a line. Oh, man, it's like totally mind-blowing.
Also, Stan Lee, he's passed, and so this will probably be his last film. It's unclear whether or not he was in the Spider-Man follow-up. But most likely this will be the last film that he makes his standard cameo. So.
Rip Stan Lee.
There's a pilot for the Twilight Zone. They just remade the Twilight Zone. I don't know if you heard about that.
I heard about it. I didn't get a chance to check it out. I really do. I love the old series.
Yeah, with Rod Sterling as the host there. Which
Loved
I guess
them.
Jordan Peele is the host.
I'm honestly stoked about it because he's kind of killing the suspense horror game right now. I heard some really good stuff out of his latest movie, and yeah.
They've got a lot of, as you'd expect, a lot of guest stars, modern guest stars filling in for the because of course it's an anthology. So I think you can actually watch the full pilot on YouTube, but so you don't have to have CBS All Access or whatever it's airing on. But
you can dodge that monthly payment.
Don't know how good it is.
You might actually end up with SpongeBob halfway through or something, or Momo trying to kill your kids. I don't know. But speaking of killing your kids, it looks like there's some Riverdale news. You know a little more about it. I'm not even gonna try.
Well, I don't really. I know what it says here. That the Riverdale, the creator of Riverdale. It's not actually Riverdale news. It is, I guess, in a sense, it is. Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. I so hope I got that right.
You offended a lot of people if you didn't get it right.
He's the creator of Riverdale, as well as I think as well as the Misadventures of Sabrina, or whatever, the new Sabrina the Teenage Witch series, whatever that is.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I haven't checked. I haven't seen that. I'm a boy. No, that has nothing to do with it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
My wife was digging that show, but I just couldn't get into it. It's too teeny drama for me.
Yeah. What I guess like Riverdale is, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No,
Well, I was just gonna say. So I mean, it could have to do with Riverdale or the other show.
Yeah.
Believe it. That's actually he's put that into something of a multiverse. He's just made a very large contract with the Warner Brothers Studios for multiple years. So we'll probably see, I guess, a lot more entries and potentially spin-offs and sequel seasons from his shows here. So
could be cool, or it could suck like Riverdale.
I guess if you're into it.
Speaking of things that don't suck, so I don't know if you all saw this or not, but there was a Borderlands 3 announcement trailer, and I am hype about it. Borderlands, that was my drug for a long time. Now I'm onto Warframe, but I have a feeling that once Borderlands 3 comes out, I'm going to be like smack dab into it. Looks pretty good. A lot of people, when the game was initially talked about, they were experimenting with a different engine. People were worried that the art style would change and that it would kind of lose touch with its artistic style, which is what made Borderlands on top of the humor. But looks like the game is exactly how everyone was wanting it to be, or at least from what we could tell by a trailer. And yeah, pretty exciting stuff. There's supposed to be over a billion different guns. I think Borderlands 2 was only in the like early millions.
Do you think that they'll be able to organize that well, or it'll be oversaturated?
Okay, so I think it's going to be a lot of how Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel and all of that is. You have your families of guns, so your Torgs, your Malawans, all of that stuff. And then each one of those are going to have their own separate like high tier, mid tier, low tier weapons. And then you have your hilts, your barrels, your scopes, things like that actually make up the naming scheme of the guns. So your double penetrating unkempt herald was a very particular build of the unkempt herald pistol, or the herald pistol. So I think that's just how it's going to work. There's probably going to be
you're talking
more.
You're talking about 100 times the amount of combinations.
Yeah.
So
I don't
Too much.
know.
It is possible to have too much of a
Yeah.
good thing, or so I've heard.
But I mean,
So I've been
it's
told.
part of what makes Borderlands so fun is all of the guns, all the
loot.
stupid guns, like the guns that shoot exploding swords and things like that. I mean, they may suck, but half of them will probably be comedy value.
Speaking of looting,
Whoo, man, was that a segue I just heard? Yes. So, John made me privy to a game that just released, and it looks pretty.
It completely swept by my radar. I didn't find out about it until 2 days
I
after it already
had
come
no
out.
idea about this. But anyway, we're talking about Generation Zero. It is a post-apocalyptic open-world first-person shooter set in the 1980s era in Sweden. So I don't know if you all have ever played The Hunter on Steam, but it's basically supposed to be the most intense hunting game you've ever played. Well, it's the same guy that made that made this game.
Oh yeah, I meant to mention Avalanche is the studio behind, which what are they up and coming on along with
Rage 2.
Rage 2. So
Yep, which hopefully will be better than the first one.
it can't be that much. Well, that's not true.
Homie down in the chat. What's up, homie? I see you down there, buddy. Man, you're always up in here. I appreciate you. But yeah, it's Generation Zero. So I was telling John when I was watching the trailer, I was like, man, this reminds me of The Hunter and Dead Island, but with robots. So apparently mechanizing, different, I won't say creatures, but the buildup of technology has caused the downfall of humanity. And it's up to you to survive. You have to loot. You have to find tools, make different things, and fight back against the resistance of technology.
Yeah, it looks like there's heavy looting. Looks like there's some crafting.
Yeah, so if you've ever played 7 Days to Die, or like pretty much any looter, we were talking beforehand, it looks like a lot of the reviews of this game have been like 2 to 3 hours of gameplay, and most of them were negative.
And then, yeah, a lot of the positive reviews were 7, 8, 9, 10 hours plus.
Yeah, and if you've ever played a looter, you know you're not going to enjoy the game in 2 hours. You're going to enjoy the game in 8 hours once you've built up your equipment.
It leads me to believe that the trailer might have misdirected some people.
Yeah.
Even the trailer still feels kind of a little slow, but if I had to take a guess, because I've never played it, I don't really know. I've never seen any gameplay footage, but it seems like it's probably even slower than what's represented in the trailer. That it's a game that takes some time. That, for example, if just from the way it appears, I'm guessing you can't just run into combat. That
No.
especially as combat gets more challenging. That it takes some preparation, takes some tactical.
Yeah, and apparently, there I go with that again. Apparently, if you damage enemies and run away, the enemies stay in the map. So, a couple days down the road, whatever, you log on, you might see that enemy, and it'll be in the same damaged state you left it, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty neat.
Definitely gives you that realistic vibe that, you hurt the thing. It's not dead, but it's hurt. So next time you encounter it, hopefully you'll be in a better situation.
There are some bugs. Sounds, at least from what people reported. But it's probably okay because this very much sounds like it's going to be another game that's going to be around for years and that's going to be updated steadily as it goes.
Yeah, and looters get a lot of updates. There's going to be a lot of balancing. There's going to be a lot of, people may find out, well, if you're in this area, you're pretty much guaranteed to get X item. So a lot of times they balance the item
Right.
and just different things like that.
It seems that excuse me.
Oh man,
no.
brain fart. I heard that. Brain fart.
I'm sundowning at 27.
Oh goodness.
It seems. Nope. I'm guessing
It's gone. It's gone. Well, here, I'll go ahead while you try to think of it. So, with this game, just give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
This
There we
isn't going to
go.
be a fast-paced game.
It seems that if this game's going to be successful, that it's probably going to hinge on a niche group.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound like the kind of game that's going to be for everybody. It does sound like the kind of game that if you want to get the most out of it, you're going to have to put some time into it.
Absolutely.
More than just a couple hours to get an actual scope. But if that sounds like something you like, I saw a lot of complaints about people saying, well, I've had the same gun for, there's plenty of ammunition, but there's no new. If that's something that's a big turnoff for you, that there's not enough variety within the first couple hours, then maybe it's a pass. Again, haven't played it, haven't even seen any of the gameplay. So
Yep.
oof indeed.
Oof.
How are you doing, homie?
Yeah. I saw
I'm
you
doing
asking
good.
about us, but how are you doing today? But let's see here now. On to the main topic of the night. So this is a classic or pass it. And yeah. So what did we watch this month?
We watched this is can we see it?
Here, I got long arms. Oh man, I'm good for something.
This is Spinal Tap.
This is Spinal Tap.
This is Spinal Tap.
If you would believe it. So
The film's titles. This is Spinal Tap. It's a film from 1984 and it's directed by Rob Reiner. You want to tell us a little about it, Curtis?
yes. So Spinal Tap is a movie. Actually, it's not just a movie. It's a rockumentary or / mockumentary of a musical group called Spinal Tap, in which the main character of the movie, which is actually Rob Reiner, but he's playing his own character in his movie. Awesome. I love it. That's so funny. But it is a movie about two particular musicians that have been in a band together for a very, very long time. I would guess you say they grew up in music together through various bands, various decades. Well, they have a group called Spinal Tap, which is a rock group that is on its way out the door. They've made something like 10 records in 13 years or something like that, I think is what the movie said. And yeah, it's just a guy following the group around with the camera, just filming their downfall.
Right. I guess the specific setup is that he's filming their latest tour. They're doing a tour through the States.
It's their first and last tour through the United States. And yeah, so being a mockumentary, I'm trying to think if there's any other movies that would fall under this, but I can't think of any. So basically, they're taking this concept of following a musical group around, and they're pretty much just poking fun at the whole genre in general.
There are definitely mockumentaries. I don't know if
I can't
a
think
whole
of
lot
any
of musical mockumentaries, but
yeah, like.
By the way, before we dig too deep into this, this is a classic or pass it. Specifically, this is the this is a classic or pass it, and in classic or pass it, it's just terminology for us. We will tell you if it's a classic in which we approved, or a pass it, in which not our cup of tea, and then and we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. And specifically, this is part of the cult classic film series that that we've been doing, where each month Curtis and I have been watching a different cult classic film, one that Curtis hasn't seen, and then and we're seeing it. And we're seeing what he thinks. So on that note, classic or pass it, Curtis?
I'm actually gonna give this one a classic. I honestly really enjoyed this film. So
Classic for me, by the way, too.
yes, I was gonna ask. So what do you think? But
Very much so.
So with this movie, they hit some pretty hard stereotypes and really poked fun at it of rock musicians, like how they just have big hair, wild personalities, just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like that's their mentality. So with this group, there's little subtleties thrown in there. They don't talk about it, they don't mention it. They don't give any attention to it whatsoever, but it's just there for you to pick up on. So one instance of this is the two guys, I can't remember one of them's name, but the other one I think is Nigel. And they're talking to this director, and the director's doing a short interview. And while they're talking, they have a humongous herpes bump right there on their lips. And, like, it's just sticking out there, like, grabbing your attention, but they never talk about it. It's just like, there it is. And just kind of, like, playing off of that stereotype that these guys have been around the block. They've probably picked up some real nasty diseases. But it's so funny to see. And also, these guys are the biggest idiots you will ever meet. Yeah. I mean, at one point, and this is kind of a headline out of the movie, but again, this director's talking to one of the guys showing off all of his guitars in this room, and he's like, "Oh man, do you hear this guitar? You can hear the stain." And the guy's like, I don't hear anything. And he's like, "Well, you'd hear it if it was plugged in." And they go over to the amp, or they go over to this one guitar, and the guy points at it. He's like, no, don't touch it. No one can ever play this guitar. It's got the tag still on it. It's never been played. That's how it's going to be. And the guy's like, well, I wasn't touching it. I was pointing. Don't even point at it. Don't even point. You've seen enough of this one. Like, motions the guy along. Well, they go over to their amps, and he's like, these are the amps that we use on stage, but there's one really, really big difference here. You see all these numbers? They go up to 11. He's like, any other amp, guys on stage playing, he can only go up to 10. So you know how much louder this is than those amps? The guy said, oh, I don't know. It's one more louder. And that's kind of the whole, like, mentality, just turning it up to 11. But just a whole bunch of stupid little things.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the really great things about the film is that it plays a nice balancing act between a straight up parody and an homage. It pokes a lot of fun at the rock genre, but it also really is a tribute to it. Really is a send up. It's really genuine. I mean, I guess the easiest example of that is the music.
Which honestly, so here's how serious they took this, and the acting was phenomenal in this movie. Not once did these guys crack a smile when they were being completely ridiculous. It was so stern and to the point that my wife thought this was an actual documentary. And but yeah, anyway, the music. So they do some really good parodies of the rock genre where it's just
a lot of times you'll see in a movie where if they have to play a song that people would actually buy, that they would actually take as a legitimate song, like in that realm of their world, right? And here you take that with some suspension of disbelief. You go, wow, I would never listen to this outside of.
Yeah.
But I guess I can pretend that in this world that the people would enjoy and listen to this. But
Walk Hard. Walk Hard. That's a mockumentary / music mockumentary. So that one's about Johnny Cash.
Is it a mockumentary or is it an actual documentary?
It's a mockumentary about Walk the Line, which was the Johnny Cash movie.
Okay.
So same thing there. The music was stupid to the point where you hear it, you're like, that's dumb. Like I would never, like you were saying, I would never listen to this outside the movie.
But it's not that way for Spinal Tap.
Yeah, not at all. And
I find myself singing the songs sometimes.
Yeah, we've been singing the songs all day. I serenade John at work, but just break out my guitar and play.
It's honestly half the reason I come.
I got one fan. Speaking of fans, Homie says, who is your favorite rapper or musician besides Homie RJ? Man, you're my favorite. I'm not going to say because I don't have one. You're my homie. But, yeah, so with the music, one of the songs is, what's it titled? I think it's called Big Bottoms or something like that. It has a real big kind of Doors tone to it. And the lyrics go something along the lines of big bottoms, if you want mud flaps, my girl's got 'em, or something like that. But if you just heard the songs, you would think it's an actual 80s song. Same thing throughout the entire movie. I mean, the music was honestly probably the best part of the film.
Again, in a way that it's such a great film, the way that it's set up, because it's following a very specific time in this band's career, but because of the nature of what a tour is, they're taking a look back. It gives them reason to take a look back at the past of the band, and so they're able to sort of focus in on the genre as a whole.
All the way from Beatles era up.
Right.
I mean, but
even some 60s flowery the kind of
flower people music,
mamas and papas, the kind of music that would predate your Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in there, and it's done beautifully. It sounds exactly like the music you would hear, while at the same time very much picking at each genre it looks at.
And of course, like another big turning point of the film is that ongoing struggle where one bandmate is dating or seeing a chick, and she's kind of controlling him, and through him controlling the band, and there's a big shift in the argument and everything. Well, just before that turning point, they were arguing over a set piece, and what they were trying to do was kind of spice up their stage appeal. They're like, oh man, we got this great idea. So one of the bandmates draws out a plan for one of these Stonehenge pillar like monuments. Well, they give it to the artist creates it. Well, the guy wrote 18 inches, the little like dash marks for inches instead of feet. So she made it 18 inches tall. So this Stonehenge monument is probably about that big. Well, they just roll with it on stage, and these guys are in their druid outfits, and it's real dark, heavy music they're playing, and then tiny Stonehenge starts dropping into the background, and bad as that is, they go ahead and they get two dwarfs on stage to start dancing around Stonehenge, and they're bumping into each other. This movie is just ridiculous. And afterward, the band's arguing that the manager screwed up Stonehenge, and he's saying, well, I just did what the band told me to do. That's what I get paid to do. And one guy in the background is just trying to fix the situation. He's throwing in lines like, well, maybe we could just work on the choreography of the dancers so they don't like trample Stonehenge. And the movie plot is realistic, but just the whole experience of the band themselves, they're just ridiculous. And one thing, a big obstacle that they face in the film is that their album is trying to be released during their tour. Well, their album is very, very suggestive, has a girl that's in leather. She has a dog collar on. A man is holding the leash to the collar and holding a leather glove in front of her face. And the album is called Sniff the Glove or Smell the Glove. And so, of course, there's a whole bunch of backlash with that. And just really getting in and heavy onto the whole just terrible mindset about women that rock and roll had, where they're just an item. I mean, but yeah, it does really well with its parody of
it also I mean, one of the recurring jokes here, in a general sense, is that the band think of themselves as artists.
Yeah.
But they seem to be displayed as
idiots,
fools, as novelty items. Well, that's nitpicking, isn't it?
Yeah. One instance of that in the film, the lead guitarist, he's talking about how the band allows him to express his creativity. Well, his creativity on stage, he's playing this super crappy guitar solo, and then sticks up one foot and starts strumming at another guitar on the floor while he's playing, and then picks up a violin and starts like using it like a bow against his electric guitar. And he even goes as far as to like stop and then tune the violin a little bit and continue. And it's just ridiculous. Like, these guys are such morons. But yeah, they definitely got it right where it counts. So like their parody's pretty on point.
Even so far as to hit the Yoko Ono, which I guess is a spoiler.
All of these things are spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that is true.
You can't really break down a movie without spoiling some plot line.
This one's a straight up comedy too. So, so the spoilers would be the jokes. Yeah. But yeah, this is some of the movies that we've watched so far through these cult classics. In fact, most of them have. I mean, it's the reason they're cult classics. They're a little odd. They stray from the mainstream. They're a little hard to place. But this one's probably about as straightforward as we've seen yet. Yeah,
we were talking about this, and we're like, how do we even break this film down? Because, yeah, there's there's probably 2 or 3 main themes you could pull from this film, but unlike Harold and Maude, where they were just throwing nothing but themes into the movie and things like that. I mean, this movie,
much of the greatness of a film like Harold and Maude is how well it presents those themes on top of a straightforward story, and how well it handles itself and its story. This movie it's just a comedy. It's definitely smart. There are some well-written themes in here. Yeah, I mean it. There are some subtleties, some subtle moments, but at its heart, through and through, it's a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good one. It's
actually,
funny, so it
me
does
and the
its
wife
job.
sat down and watched this one, and both of us really enjoyed it. I actually went back and watched it again, just because it was so good. But yeah, so that's a definite pass it in my book. And what's
Classic.
Classic? I mean,
We don't even know what it means.
right? Yeah, it doesn't even say the band guys' names on the.
No,
Okay.
I thought I'd look.
I was wrong.
It's been a little bit since I've seen this film, actually.
But yeah, I was trying to think of some other mockumentaries that I could compare it to. That Walk Hard movie. I mean, it just never took itself serious. But this movie takes itself serious enough to where there's an actual reason to watch it. It's not just stupid, dumb slapstick comedy. It's not a Will Ferrell movie. What's that dude's name? The guy that co-starred in Step Brothers with Will Ferrell.
John C. Reilly.
Yeah, he was the one that played the Johnny Cash character in Walk Hard.
Okay. Actually, I guess I've never seen it, but I think I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, it's dumb. You know how Johnny Cash's brother fell into the table saw and ended up dying and walked the line. It was a super sad moment.
I do now.
So
spoilers.
And Walk Hard, the same thing happens. And throughout the movie, the dad is just, I guess, playing on the whole mentality that he hated Johnny. He was the bad son. He lived. But like at one point, he's arguing with whatever his name is, shuts the door, opens it back up, and he's like, the wrong son died, and then shuts the door again. Just stuff like that. I mean, there's no dumb comedy like that in this movie. The comedy is basically just based off of the character personalities and just how dumb they are. One point, when they're really on the downcline of, or the downhill of their career, they get a gig at a zoo. Was it a zoo? Or it might have been like a public theater. But anyway, they show up and the sign says Puppet Show and Spinal Tap. And the girl that's like taking over control, she's like, I told them once, I told them 100 times, put Spinal Tap before Puppet Show. And I'm just like, oh, God. Like, that really helps your situation. Oh, man. But, yeah, that is Spinal Tap. Yeah. Kind of blew through that one a little quicker than I thought we would.
Yeah.
But then again, it's a pretty straightforward film.
Yeah.
So not a whole lot to
without just listing out jokes, which which is the whole point of the stamp of approval, I guess. But if you haven't seen the film and it sounds like something that would interest you, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and RJ, to answer your question, I've put some thought into it.
John's been over here silently thinking about all of his favorite rappers and musicians.
It is, because it's, as you know, it's a hard question to answer so blanketly. But I would have to say, without a doubt, my favorite band, Led Zeppelin.
Ugh, you're one of those guys.
Favorite rapper? That's a toughie. Maybe Big Pun.
Big Pun. Whew.
Big Punisher. Chris Rivers. Well, actually, I guess that would be his son, Chris Rios.
I honestly have never heard of that person.
You never heard of Big Pun?
I have not. Oh, man. What would my favorite musician?
But the West Coast, too, to be.
West Coast. I'm not going to be like every white guy and say my favorite rapper is Eminem. I feel like that's pretty stereotypical. Favorite rapper. I don't know about that one. But my favorite musician is probably... Oh, wow. I have a lot of musicians. See, like I said last week, I just recently started getting into music. And
what is your favorite musical genre even right now?
I don't know. It's kind of a toss between...
What are you listening to the most? Even if it's just right now, what are you listening to the most?
I've been listening to a lot of 1950s and techno. Right? Isn't that like the best combination ever? And I'm not talking about like boots and pants techno. Like, no, get that Darude Sandstorm crap out of here. But give me some Alan Walker, give me some Nightcore Reality, stuff like that. More the EDM side of techno, but without the weird washing machine sounds. Also, 1950s, listen to, of course, like Dion, Chuck Berry, things like that. But as far as my favorite musician, I would honestly be pretty torn between Corey Taylor and... Which Corey Taylor was the lead singer of Slipknot, and then I think he went to... Oh, wow, that just escaped me. But anyway, lead singer of Slipknot, phenomenal musician, great guitarist, really knows how to put on a show. And then it's either him or... Why can't I think of his name? Steve Vai. Yeah. I was sitting there like Crossroads. What was the guy's name? Not Daniel's son, but yeah, probably Steve Vai or Corey Taylor. Both of them are pretty awesome. And then, of course, my favorite rapper is Homie RJ. So
I gotta check your stuff out, man. I've seen a video or two, but I haven't dug into it yet.
I've been lurking on his channel. I've been lurking on his channel for a while. He's a solid dude. I like RJ. Which I'm not gonna spoil anything, but he may be working with us on something for this live stream.
Huh?
Hint, hint. Pretty stoked about it. I can't wait to see how that turns out. But yeah. So it is probably about time for question of the week.
We are hitting right in a nice time frame. So yeah, we should definitely.
So this is going to be our question of the week. You can either sound off in the comments down below, or you can hit us up on our Discord channel. We are starting to build up that community. We want to chat with you guys more and just kind of have a little bit more of that personal connection with you all. And it's also a great place to post stuff like this. There's a Player Tuesday thread down there. Have you been checking the Discord?
Nope.
Oh, my goodness.
I was out for a funeral.
I'm talking about now.
I don't have it on here.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
I thought I had it up. I might have failed him. I set him up for failure. It's what I do.
You see? That's...
Yeah, it's called leadership. Sometimes you got to lead from behind and then laugh as you push them down the cliff.
I don't know where you
There's only one set of tracks in the sand, John. That's because I've killed you and left you behind. But anyway, question of the... Oh, it's day, not week. What band...
Maybe someone should have their leadership privileges revoked.
I mean, I never said I was...
Revoked, excuse me.
I think
man. No.
I think you need to go back
to
and read rule number 1. Expect nothing. But anyway, question of the day. What band do you think deserves a mockumentary about it? So think of like...
If you could see a mockumentary about any band, which band would you want to see?
What is your Spinal Tap? So
I would say, or singer, or rapper, or
yeah. anyone that makes music, that homeless guy on the street corner that's like beating on 2 trash cans.
Still waiting on that Biebs parody, or
You mean you're not a believer? How dare you, John?
Shh, I told you not to share that.
Oh boy. So yeah, be sure to let us all know. And with that being said, it's probably time for us to sign out of here. So thank you all for checking out the stream or the podcast if you're listening in the future, which it's pretty cool to talk to people in the future. But anyway, I'm Curtis.
I'm John.
And we will catch you on the next live stream. See ya.
Bye.